This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in.
Where are we?
So if you're looking at the set right now, you're like, whoa, what happened? So our normal desk has been moved across the way. And right now it's all full of stuff because Jack and I constructed these three tables by hand out of beech wood.
Yeah.
Some little beech wood, some nice staining.
You have a lathe and
we had a lathe. I'm actually
carved it on your own.
Yeah, I'm weaving the rug that's going to go here eventually on my loom. So I have a loom.
Yeah, we've moved backwards in time.
But look, here's the thing: the best things are done on looms. The best art is loom-based art.
How many can you name?
Obviously there's Jensen Fargman's. Yeah, I don't know, but
I was wondering how long you were going to continue with that bit.
No. So we are here on the main set now, and I think this might be where this show lives too.
It's so open.
It's open.
I mean,
this
room in itself is an open concept, but
Yeah.
for some reason, moving that over here, there's so much more room for activities.
Exactly. That was our mantra, Garrett. Is that not true in us? Saying, like, Step Brothers, there'll be so much more room for activities. So many more activities. Because now we actually can do, like, 4 sets in one.
Yeah.
The way that we do this. So it's kind of exciting. So if you're watching, just know that it's going to have a bit of an under construction feel for a minute because we have to figure out functionality before fashion.
Right.
And plus, the loom and all. You can't rush loom. No, but, nobody ever says, hey, hurry up on that loom.
By the way, I know it Noom is an app. Like, what Loom not being the name of an app feels like somebody is missing something.
Yeah. You could
feels like a sleep app.
Or you could make custom carpets with it. So if we wanted to make a carpet with our logo on it, I would go to Loom.
Right.
And I would be like, okay, here's the logo. We'd like it to be black.
I gotta tell you, my wife would actually have a subscription to Loom.
To Loom?
Yeah.
You have a lot of...
There would be so many carpets in our house.
So many carpets or whatever else you make with looms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
we know a lot about history and the history of art and the history of making things on this show. This is what this is about, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. That's we're gonna really get into artisanship.
Everyone has a podcast these days.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, into artisanship. Jack actually did most of the work. And I said this on the show yesterday when we were talking to Garrett about some of the things we've done in the studio over the last couple of days. Sunday and Monday, Jack and I were here. After hours on Monday, and then Sunday we spent a good chunk of our day here. And I say we did a lot of work. Jack did most of it while I was the assistant. You remember when you would help your dad with something? It's very much that feeling of okay, now untangle these cords.
Yeah.
All right.
Yay.
Okay, I want you to run this cord from there to over here. Then last night I messed it up, and he's like, no, that's not what I told you to do. You got to do it again. And I was like, this is totally like being with your dad and him okay, look, now I appreciate that you did it that way, but that's not what I told you, right? And you're like, no. Okay. I'll do it again.
My dad had a lot of patience for us growing up, but there would be some times when we'd be you'd be fixing a sink or something tedious, and it would be oh, I forgot the Phillips head screwdriver. And then you came back with a flathead screwdriver, and it was I'm seeing red right now.
Yeah.
And I know my dad was patient with us growing up, but there are some times where he's cannot be this stupid.
No.
You cannot. Come on.
Has your dad ever slapped your hand away?
No.
No. Hey, no.
Don't touch that.
Yeah.
I forget.
I remember it happened one time when I was 28 years old, and I was like, "Hey, I'm trying to help you here." And he's like, "No, go away."
The Ron Swanson. I know more than you.
Yeah, exactly. When I was 8 years old, we lived in Bossier City, Louisiana, and it was fall. There were leaves all over the place. and my dad had just gotten a new rake. He refused leaf blower. I don't know why. Like, he was just
The principal.
he was a bit of a he was a bit of a Luddite when it came to that. He's like, no, we have rakes for a reason, and I have an 8-year-old son.
Ugh.
He can hold a rake.
The worst.
So but he didn't get rid. My dad was he was a minor hoarder. Like, he had a touch of the hoard.
Yeah.
Like, not all. Like, he was a high functioning hoarder, but
The workbench is exactly how I want it. Shut up.
So when he bought the new rake, he didn't get rid of the old one, which was bent all. Like, he ran over it with his
Had
truck.
holes in it.
So it was bent all the like there was all going in a different direction. In the midst of us starting me raking the lawn, I yelled at my sister for something, which I'm sure she deserved. But he then took the good rake, went and got me the bad one, and said, "You finish with this."
What a punishment.
Oh, it was, and like
You now have
it
bad
was,
rake.
it was psychological warfare.
Yeah, like
And that's when I was like, well, he was a Nam, so he knows some things. But like he was a Vietnam veteran. So I was like, is this what they made you do in the Army? Like, and so I was raking the leaves, and my neighbor, Mr. Dave, comes out and goes, "Hey, you shouldn't be using that busted rake." He's like, hell he shouldn't. And like, it was that like dad code, like, oh, and then like he goes over and like sits with the good rake, watching me, having a cup of coffee, and talking with our neighbor like nothing happened. And they just both knew, like, oh, Paul must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
And this is a psychological punishment and a physical one at the same time. And we'll see how many leaves he can rake. And it really got hard with the ones on the driveway. In the grass, like, you could like do things, but on the driveway, oh my God.
hey,
You know what? We had a big lawn anyway, but what should have been a 2-hour job, like, he didn't even stop it. Like, when it hit 4 hours, he came and goes, "Here's the other one."
Yeah,
And I was like,
finished.
I was like, oh, great.
You know what? Just beat me. You know what? Just give me a whooping at that point. I'll use the good rake if you just hit me with a switch. Like, I don't know how to get that point.
Like, can we negotiate spanking? I know, like, you got your big belt buckle. I'll take that to the jaw right now if you want. Like, I can't do this anymore. You have broken me.
Things are going bad. Things are going bad. Just give me the belt.
All right, okay. When you and Mom fell asleep on New Year's, I watched 2 R-rated movies. And the other day, I was like Chunk.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
Goonies.
And one time, I ate all the ice cream in it.
One time, I went to the balcony of the movie theater, and I went, and then everybody started throwing up. Like, I was like Chunk. I was absolutely like Chunk.
Speaking of raking leaves, one time my dad, like, straight up, I'll never let him lift this down because the fall doesn't come in East Texas really, but we had 2 big oak trees and they would like.
But when it comes, they
would shed these little leaves like this.
Yeah, today's fall.
Yeah, exactly. All of it happened. And we had, a really big yard and he would be like, okay, now it's time to rake it up. And we had leaf blowers too, but he's just like, no, go do it. And then bag it too.
Yeah.
So my brother and I would do that, but eventually they would fall on our roof, and our roof was sloped like this, and there was a little bit of a lip that like you could put 2 feet on if you were a child, which we were. Dad said, crawl out the upstairs window and go sweep off or blow off the roof. My brother and I were 10 and 8 years old. And he's like, get on the roof. It is a precipitous fall to the ground. And he's just like, what's the problem? And we're up there like this. And he, don't you drop that broom. I'm not handing you back up the broom. I'll never forget it.
Yeah. No.
This is the thing. He'll be like, oh, I'm such a bad dad. But I've never forgotten that.
I'm not a dad. Garrett's kids are very chill.
They are.
And so you don't really have to worry about this, do you?
With Parker, I do, because if he gets loose, there's no telling what he's going to get into.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
That's my brother's name, and that sounds exactly like a Parker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I can see. Actually, I can see that.
He definitely would.
By the way, my dad did fall off that roof later.
Yeah. See, Griswolded it just all the way down.
He was just doing something, and he just like ba-doom, doom, doom, and like fell. And anyway, that's a whole other story. But.
Yeah. So let's get to it. First topic I want to talk about today. Who is Georgia? Is Georgia the team we saw absolutely curb stop Clemson?
Yeah.
Or is Georgia the team that played very uninspiring football against a very uninspiring Kentucky team?
Yeah.
Who then made a decision that I think is I get it, like in the football coach's manual. Like if you went through Mark Stoops is like, hold on, let's see what the instructions say here. It would be like, well, if you have multiple timeouts and there's this much time on the clock, the safe way and the clear way to go is punting and play the field position game.
Hate it.
But like there should be an addendum of if you're playing the number one team in the country who hasn't lost a conference game in the regular season in well over 2 seasons, maybe, just maybe, you want to take a chance.
Yeah, the NFL. When was this in the game? Because I watched the end of the game. I didn't see.
It was in the fourth quarter. Then it was
in the waning moments.
Yeah,
I thought I had seen this part of the game because it was like still going on after the Baylor matchup. But I turned it on and they just kept saying like Kentucky's going to be out of time. Kentucky's going to be out of time. And lo and behold, they had to go like 80 yards to win the game, which happens so often with these coaches. These old school, which I would equate Mark Stoops to sort of an old school ball coach. And, he's had pretty successful offenses in his time and kind of revolutionized that Kentucky team and brought it into the 21st century. But there's a thing in the NFL called the surrender index. You've seen this on Twitter, I'm sure, and the audience has as well, where they'll measure the time it takes they'll measure the time left in the game plus the yardage marker, and if you punted or went for it or whatever, and it is for punts, and I would say depending on where their field position was, I forgot where it was. Were they were on the plus side of the 50, right? Mm-hmm. So they're in plus territory. The surrender index on that would probably be in like the 80th or 90th percentile. And look, I understand that a lot of these coaches come from, the Bill Parcells school of like make your defense win the game, let your defense win the game and you can come in back and get it and the whole timeouts. But I also think that a lot of coaches just genuinely don't know how to time manage either. Mm-hmm. Like now they just don't think how much time runs off the clock. You see it in the NFL all the time and in college football too. It can be even worse, but they just genuinely don't think that, oh, well, they haven't gotten first downs this entire time. Why would they be able to get first downs now? It's like, well, they're Georgia. They should be able to get a first down and milk the rest of this clock, the rest of this clock. To that end, the surrender index had to have been huge. I don't know if they have it for college, but you have to go for it in said situation because I just know a lot of these coaches don't go off of vibes, and maybe there should be a vibes coordinator on the sideline that just says, Coach, if we punt this football, the vibes are not great.
Yeah.
And that's all they do. Because everybody at home could have been like, Georgia's going to win this football game, probably.
Yeah.
And look, you may not get it, and you may be called – I would rather be called an idiot for trying to go for it, like go for 2 to win the football game or go for the touchdown on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal when those situations come up. Jim Harbaugh is like this where he's just like, I'm just going to kick the field goal and let things fall where they may. Yeah. He's very much like that, but it's worked out for him. If you're Kentucky battling uphill, you've already gotten this far. You got to go for it. What do you have to lose? That's the other thing. The vibes coach also is the what do we have to lose coordinator.
Yeah.
And, I mean, genuinely, like, kicking it when you're down, say you need 2 scores anyway, and you go ahead and kick the field goal instead of going for the touchdown initially, that sort of thing irritates me. And, punting Punting, actually, I think you never should punt in plus territory, to be completely honest with you. But anyway, I'm going on and on. To answer your question, I think Georgia's closer to the team that we saw against Clemson than they are to the team that had a tough time against Kentucky.
Yeah.
They have had a lot of things going on with that program still, driving incidents.
Yeah.
Galore. But I kind of think that they are closer to the team, or will be closer to the team that just ran roughshod over Clemson than they are going to be the one that goes into Kentucky and is like not ready to play.
Okay. My assessment also right now, if you look at NFL draft rankings, Carson Beck, everybody's got him as their number one quarterback.
Yep.
I don't know if that, I think he's good. I don't know if he's that good. He's kind of blah to me, but blah can be good. And he's not he's rarely been put in a position where he's got to make ridiculous plays because the rest of the team around him is so good. Now, if it were me drafting for next year, I would certainly have guys like Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward and Quinn Ewers a little higher than him. And this is not a quarterback class like last year where you have Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels at the top. Those guys.
It's more akin to the Stroud class and the Bryce Young class, but they don't have massive outliers like Bryce Young was to sort of go back and forth where probably we should just take Stroud, who fits that sort of blah pocket passer mode, not the biggest arm sort of thing like that. There was more stuff on tape that could suggest that Stroud could make plays out of structure than what they necessarily saw on draft day. But yeah, Carson Beck hasn't been able to. He's kind of the term park and bark. He just is I'm just gonna sit here, sing my songs like Adele. I'm gonna sit here and sing my songs and then get off the stage. Yeah. And they haven't asked him to make a lot of plays off structure. It's hit your playmakers. But I still think he has a really talented arm. But,
Yeah, well, and we'll see. Again, I'm not but I was talking to a friend this weekend, and he's like, what do you think? I said, he's fine. Believe me, I'm not, as a fan, in a position to criticize anybody else's quarterback right now. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, no, I would rather have this guy. Would I rather have, if I'm building a team, would I rather have a Cam Ward than him? Yeah, I think because it's maybe I like the adrenaline a little bit more, but there's not many people I would rather have than him.
It's a sexy pick.
Yeah. Quinn Ewers gets better and better and better. The only knock on Quinn Ewers is he has a little bit of he's going to miss 2 or 3 games a year. Garrett?
No, I mean, he's got an injury history going back to high school. He's been hurt every year.
Yeah, he gets hurt. So
he's put on weight, he's put off weight, yada, yada, yada. And it's not a lingering issue, or not. It's not one thing he has a knee problem.
Oh, he had last year was an elbow. This year it's the oblique. It's something. So those are the things that would scare me off. And not he's hurt bad, injured terribly, but every year there's going to be kind of something. Well, he did have the bad injury in high school, right?
Yeah, because he missed. Well, he got hurt his junior year, and then he skipped his senior year. So, he was –
Yeah. So, and part of it, I think part of the growing pains for Quinn Ewers was he didn't play football for 2 full years.
Yeah.
He didn't, he skipped his senior. He didn't play. He got hurt in junior year, skipped his senior year. Then he came to Texas and started. But
he early enrolled at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And then he ended up transferring to Texas.
Yeah, he was 17 when he went to Ohio State. Yeah. He was, Trey Lance in that way, if you wanted to have a comparison. Now, he's not the athletic freak that Trey Lance was, but, the 49ers drafted Trey Lance and all of a sudden forgot that he just hadn't played football. Mm-hmm. It's oh, wait, he can't do this. It's you don't have enough tape. I'm not saying you don't have enough tape now on Quinn Ewers, but, the injury thing would be concerning. I don't think his, quite frankly, his measurables are jump off the page to me. I mean, he's not the 6'4", 200. He's not Andrew Luck.
No.
He doesn't have the biggest arm, but he makes plays and he gets the ball to his playmakers. There's something to be said about that. I think this is going to sound like a hater. I think somebody's going to overdraft Quinn Ewers because they always do. I'm not saying he can't be a good quarterback, but in years past where you would have these outstanding prospects, I don't know, we've kind of gotten off our skis of how quickly we're drafting quarterbacks now because we just go through these things.
Well,
like candy. They're just they're just picking out of the jar.
There's a really good chance Bryce Young, after 2 years, is no longer with the Panthers now that he's been benched.
And he hasn't been good, but
they also broke him.
Yeah, they also didn't support him at all. There's like this cyclical nature of these NFL teams where they're like, we're not good. Let's take a quarterback that's going to make us good. Oh wait, we're still not good. Get rid of quarterback. Let's and not focus on changing some other things and hope that Justin Herbert turns into something good, which he did. Yeah. But they didn't address a lot of other things with the Chargers, and Justin Herbert just was good.
Well, like
Stroud carried that team. Everybody predicted that team was going to be bad for the Texans last year. Everybody had him winning like 4 games, and he just was good. And now they had the opportunity to build upon that. The problem is that these bad teams say if you miss or if he's not an X factor right away, the problem becomes then we don't have room to like let him grow because everything in the NFL is promoted to win now. NFL teams do not like tanking. And I got to tell you, David Tepper especially does not like the position that they're in right now. So I think the problem with some of these quarterbacks, and like unfortunately I think Shedeur Sanders is going to probably be a case study in this. I think he can be really good in the NFL, but because of his arm talent, he made a couple throws against Colorado State that were unbelievable. But, because of his arm talent and his mobility and the ability to make plays out of structure, he can be good in a bad situation, but he's also not asked to go through, like you saw Bo Nix struggling with the Sean Payton offense this weekend. Like that Colorado offense isn't that complicated. Yeah. So he's going to, a lot of these quarterbacks in these offenses are going to have to like be really tasked with growing up in a hurry. And the problem is that if they're overdrafted and you don't sit like they're giving Penix the opportunity to do in Atlanta, then it's going to be really, really tough. And then people are going to say, oh, well, I told you so. And so there's a whole thing, and we're doing it now, but overdrafting quarterbacks, expecting them to be good, and when they're not good, their career is shot, and then they have to like journey around like Sam Darnold until they find an actually good head coach to correct it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there are guys also that like they're good, and it just needs to be, they just need the better system. Now, I thought for Bryce Young, just as a side note, Dave Canales would be able to work with him, but the problem is not just Bryce Young. They have a lot of issues.
They have a terrible offensive line. Their skill, like Deontay Johnson's probably their best wide receiver. They have like 38-year-old
Adam Thielen
running routes out there. It's not good. I know we were supposed to be talking about Georgia, but
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Next up, who's going to beat Texas? Their schedule's like outside of a couple pretty favorable. I'm going to throw them out to you, Royden, of who I think can beat them. And you give me on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely that one is. Okay?
Sure.
We'll do it that way because I do think that right now, the way that they look, now they have not been challenged yet. That's coming. But, man, they've got ULM and Mississippi State for the next 2 weeks, then a bye. We'll get to it.
Okay.
And then after that, that's where the run is going to get interesting because I think they have 3 tough games, then 3 games they shouldn't, and then 1 game that will be interesting. We'll talk about that next. This is 365 Sports.
is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside Royden Ogletree.
Hello.
The Tuesday, I don't know. I got nothing. I was trying to think of another Tuesday thing.
Well, it is historically the worst day of the week.
You think so?
Yeah.
Wednesday, you start to feel like you've turned the corner.
Right.
Monday is the start, which, everybody, I think, I agree with you. I think Tuesdays are better.
People, it's a mindset thing a little initially, but, most of the time, people, I hate going back into the office or whatever, but that's because you had Sunday scaries. But a lot of the times, I think people have sort of redirected to be like, all right, I'm juiced for this week. I'm ready to go. Let's go. And then Tuesday hits and you're like, I have 4 more days of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is awful.
You know what's changed my perspective on days was you and I work in media, so like the normal week of Monday through Friday. Now, since I've been here, I've gotten many more Saturdays and Sundays to myself. And that's lovely. But when I'm like, you're running all over, going to all these games and high school games and this game and that game and all these things, people are like, well, you got big plans for the weekend? I'm like, Sunday evening at about 6:30, I should be home. So I guess Game of Thrones might be on.
Yeah, I'm going to have a scotch and cry.
Yeah, it's just over. And then when do you take, during football season, I used to work 7 days a week. Garrett was like this. We used to work 7 days a week for about 10 weeks, 12 weeks. And then it's like, whew.
Especially if you have a dedicated team that you have to follow or, like here, college range true. But, used to be the home network for the Waco area, Waco Catalina area for the Cowboys. Yeah. So you had to go and cover those games as well? It sucks.
It's fun.
Yeah.
But at the end of it,
this is just now dudes convincing you that we're actually okay.
But you need how you feel. The media is not very good at hiding their feelings anymore. But it's fun when teams keep winning. Because you're getting to do cool things and you're in places that you weren't before, and it's not. But if the season ends the same way every year for several years in a row, you get to the point where you're just like, here we are again.
Which for the Cowboys.
So, here we are again. Well, what do you have to do in the offseason? Are you going to fire the coach? What about the quarterback? Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, just make it stop.
Well, especially for college teams, covering. And I went to way less games last year, and for good reason, because I just kind of knew that they weren't going to be good, and I let Darby and Chad sort of handle that. But the 7 and 6 year, or the 6 and 7 year, there's nothing more demoralizing than watching the crash and burn of a team in real time, and just every single week, hey, you got to go to West Virginia. Oh, and, I'm only married for about a year, and all of a sudden it's telling your, new bride that, hey, I got to go to Iowa today.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. They're shipping me off to West Virginia and now UCF. And I just all in a row. There was a time where it's I would come off the plane, not even unload my DOP kit and stuff, and then get back on the plane. They had 3 road games in a row or something like that. I don't think I saw Caitlin for 3 weeks. And, and then, we talk a lot about kids skipping bowl games and whatnot. As a media member, there's nothing more demoralizing than covering a crap bowl game. Oh, I don't want to disparage any city, but, it's 0 degrees in Fort Worth. Cool, thanks. I really want to be here. And the team doesn't really want to be there either. Air Force did, because they wouldn't beat the crap out of Baylor, but that sort of thing. And luckily, I got the flu before that game, so I didn't have to go. But, anyway, it's awful.
Yeah.
It really is. But it's fun, like anything. It's fun when you're succeeding. But with some other things, it's maybe I can take Monday off, I guess. But, oh, no, now the Cowboys are playing in prime time again. Crap. Like it football dominates and it goes nonstop. And we do that only to say when baseball season rolls around, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, I'm
taking a 3-week vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about teams that can beat Texas, because they look really, really good right now. Now, it's early in the season. Again, they have not been even Michigan was not really a test for them. That was a test in the this is going to be hard. There's going to be a road game, but that game they could have won going backwards.
Yeah, I don't think Michigan is as good as they were hyped up to be. I mean, preseason rankings are always the bane of everyone's existence. It was like, well, we beat this, that, and the other team, and they could end up. Michigan could end up the year, I think, probably losing 3 or 4 games. Mm-hmm. Probably not. I think they'll probably lose 2. But, the preseason rankings are always the bane of everyone's existence and media covering the game, because we have to set the narrative that, it was a top 5 ranked road win or a top 10 ranked road win for Texas. But then you watch last week and, yeah, they beat that team pretty handily. Michigan did. What was it, 28-7 or something like that?
Yeah.
Whoever they played. I'm trying to remember. I could look it up.
Who they played before Michigan?
No. Who Michigan played this past weekend?
Oh, yeah. I don't know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Arkansas State, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, they beat, I think, Arkansas State. But it's they beat them pretty handily. But in the end, it wasn't really even that pretty of a game. So, to me, it's going through these ranked wins can be a little treacherous as you continue to go down the season, because we don't know what we don't know early in the season.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a deserved butt whooping from Texas, and they deserve the hype from that because you went into the big house and you trounced that team. But it also could be that Michigan isn't that good. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, let's go through the schedule. Let's go through it. Okay, they have ULM, Mississippi State off. So let's just assume that they're 5-0 going into the bye week.
Okay.
All right. Then they play Oklahoma. Now that game
always weird.
That game is always a toss-up, but I still think that, to me, that's more than most years because they've got a depth advantage over Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's 65-35 to me. And it's only that high because that game gets weird sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Arnold's looked good. He looked really good against Tulane. Mm-hmm. But I kind of think that what's the record been? I kind of think Sark has Venable's number.
Yeah.
Did Venable are they 1-1 or 2?
1-1. I mean, no, let's see. No, Oklahoma won last year.
Did they win last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oklahoma won last year.
I retract my statement. I'm just thinking of 2 years ago when it kind of got out of hand, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. But for those of you screaming in the comments, my memory fails me a lot. But I don't know. I just look the talent. When you just look at the film, the talent on Texas, to me, especially on the offensive line, far exceeds the depth, like you said, that Oklahoma has. Mm. It could get out of hand because it always, like you said, they won last year. And that was the only game that Texas dropped until the playoff. But I just don't see a scenario where that happens. I wish I had more coaching analysis other than I just don't think that's going to work.
Yeah.
And Jackson Arnold could prove to be the Messiah, which everyone, north of Dallas is hoping.
Yeah.
But he could be good and they still lose is my whole point.
Yeah, absolutely. So that one, okay. Then they play Georgia right after that, but at home. So, I think that's going to be a doozy, and that one's 50-50.
I think this is where they drop it.
Yeah.
Look, I know that first major SEC test for, I guess you could say that Oklahoma is, but that has, we're in the SEC, but that has Big 12 coded vibes all over it.
Yeah.
Still, because they were all recruited to play in the Big 12 initially. But the first major SEC test. Now, if Oklahoma comes out, or not Oklahoma, if Georgia comes out and lays a stinker like they did, they can't do that.
Yeah.
Against Texas, they'll get rolled. I think to the tune of a 3 touchdown loss.
Yeah.
But I think, like I've said before on this show, nobody has gotten their team to eat the trash. Nobody believes in us more than Kirby Smart.
And now he's got a reason.
Yeah.
He's got a legitimate reason. They just went and almost lost to a very, very
bad Kentucky team.
Kentucky team. Wow. I mean, a team that completed 6 forward passes the week before. So let's think about that.
Is that bad?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Then after Georgia, they go to Vanderbilt, which they're not going to lose to Vanderbilt more than likely, but they've got a quarterback in Diego Pavia who is really, really good and really, really kind of, tough to get over on. So I think he might, especially given the way that he plays.
They really laid an egg against Georgia State, though.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I maybe I'm just too big of a fan of his, but I do like him. Then they're off. Then they welcome Florida, who by November 9th will probably have an interim coach.
Yikes, Florida. I mean, look, that game was a mess. It didn't stop raining the entire time against Texas A&M. But deciding to just not ride with Lagway.
Here's the thing, though. Graham Mertz was playing better than Lagway was. So I kind of get it.
Meh.
But I think if you're going to start shit like...
Again, vibes coach gives you nothing.
Yeah.
Graham Mertz, no offense.
No, and look, I agree with you. Like, that's
the vibes are atrocious.
So it was bad. And Garrett, you and I are of similar thought on this. But every time that, Billy Napier should see the sign of, just go and play Lagway, he's like, well, no, Graham Mertz is the starter, and we're gonna play both of them. He went series to series with both of them. Well, now he's shortchanging both of them, especially DJ Lagway. Graham Mertz has never helped him win anything. And now, because he's going to keep doing that, if Graham has a better day than DJ, he's going to be like, well, see? And you're like, well, yeah, but, what did that mean?
Yeah.
So what did that mean? He had a better day. You still got your ass handed to you.
Yeah.
I think the only silver lining, I guess, in that for Billy Napier and his perspective is you don't really trust the team you have. You know what you are. You're not very good. Really up front with your offensive line. Do you want to risk putting DJ Lagway in a season that's automatically or pretty much going to be a wash? You're at best going to make a bowl game and risk him being injured where you could save him and kind of bring in this recruiting class next year, hope you can have some cohesion and kind of make a push next season. And that's the only way I can kind of look at that.
That's super altruistic if he has his best intentions at heart.
Yeah, but he's not
best
guaranteed to be
safety
there.
at heart for DJ Lagway. He's not going to be there.
Exactly.
And Florida's having meetings to try and fire this guy now.
Yeah.
And I think that was reported, correct?
Look, nobody knows what's exactly going on, but there's enough.
We're just having meetings to really shake hands.
There's enough going on to where, look, you lose to Miami as badly as you did, and then A&M comes in and dictates the game like they did.
Yeah.
It's not those games were at the Swamp. That wasn't it's tough to play in Kyle Field.
I don't even think A&M played a really good game. I don't even think they played their best game against Florida.
Look, here's the other thing. A&M also rolled out a guy who'd never started a game before.
Yeah, that's true.
And knew that was pretty much going to happen.
He started the bowl game, though.
No.
Right? No?
He did not start the bowl game. You would have thought that if you missed the first play. But Jalen Henderson started the bowl game and then promptly broke his arm.
Oh, right.
And then Marcel Reed is like, he broke his what now?
After what?
You mean right now? Right now. Yeah. I thought this might have been a later thing, but now? Okay. And he went in and after the first couple series was good. You know? And so he saw, they've got a situation, A&M at
Yeah, I was going to say, talk about another quarterback situation. But
yeah, they've got a good problem to have, though. They've got two guys that they like as opposed to one guy that everybody likes and one guy that everybody's like, why?
For every one DJ Lagway, who I think is going to be a truly awesome quarterback, there has been 1,000 Graham Mertzes in college football.
Yeah.
And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And look, Graham Mertz, go play for Iowa Challenge. Like, it just...
He's an off-brand G.I. Joe. He's there. You can play with him, but...
G.I. Bob.
Yeah. Seinfeld was Army Pete.
Army
It was
Pete.
made out of wood, and in the rain he would split.
I don't know. I think Texas just bowls over Florida, to be honest with you. I truly think they go 11-1 and get into the playoff even with one loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they will drop it to Georgia. Now, Texas fans on my Twitter are riding high, saying that Georgia is Charmin soft, and they're not the Georgia teams of old. We've seen this mistake before, guys.
Yeah.
We've seen it before.
Yeah.
They're not gonna I don't think they're gonna have another huge challenge. Now they may come in overestimating some opponents in the SEC on the road, kind of like Georgia did this past week.
Yeah.
They're not gonna have another huge game until the Texas A&M matchup.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
And then that one could get squirrely because they haven't played each
that's
other.
That's the one. They have two games on this schedule that not every team does. FSU does every year, and we're not talking about them. Ohio State doesn't. USC might. LSU does.
You know about multiple rivals?
Yeah. But you have these games where it's like this, these two matter so much, and Texas has just had one for the last decade, but they always had two before it. And now that it's in the SEC, it's going to be that much more amplified. And this particular one, because it's at Kyle Field and this is the first one in 13 years.
I don't think you can get tickets for under $1,000 to that game.
Yeah, especially if A&M is still, even still.
Yeah.
That's if, say A&M winds up being pretty good.
Yeah.
Say that's their opportunity that's the difference between 8-4 and 9-3.
Right.
Because A&M also kind of got a Texas-esque schedule because if you look at what they have this year rolling in, they have Arkansas next week at Jerry World, which I believe is the last one. Is that the last one?
So.
I think
I
that's it.
hope so.
Yeah. Mizzou, that's going to be a tough one, obviously. Mississippi State, LSU, but that's at home. And in the middle of the year now, which is, I think, better for A&M than playing LSU at the end.
Yep.
Because more often than not, LSU is going to have something to play. They've only beaten LSU at the end when LSU has nothing to play for. Mm-hmm. But when LSU's had something to play for, they could play that game on the moon and they could take away LSU's spacesuits and A&M wouldn't win.
Yeah.
They'd just be floating in gravity, hurling the ball and oh, how did that happen? How did they make that work?
They have a little bit more treacherous
They've
schedule.
got moon boots, and we've got moon boots, and they don't. But South Carolina on the road is going to be tougher than I thought. But a game that's winnable.
Well, South Carolina spit the bit this weekend. I don't know if we have to talk about that or not.
Garrett's happy that they spit the bit. New Mexico State win. At Auburn should be a win. Auburn doesn't have a good quarterback, and they on their roster. And then Texas. So that should be. I'm looking at this schedule, and they should be at least 7-4 rolling into that, if not 8-3. So if they're 8-3 rolling into that game, then that makes all the difference in the world in this. So I do think that one is going to be way more up in the air because. Just the opportunity to take a bite out of Texas, even though it probably won't affect them playoff standing wise at all. Mm-hmm. Texas is probably going to the playoff no matter if they win the SEC or not. And then I think it's just all bets are off.
Yeah. Do you think if they lose 2 games, you think they're in?
Oh yeah.
Texas?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. If they lose to
I forget where. I mean, I always kind of forget we're at 12 now, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're in. Look. Any SEC team that goes 10-2 is going to be in this thing. So
it's going to be them or Alabama or 3 of them, actually?
Yeah. So, there's going to be Any SEC team that's 10-2, unless they just get to the point where, because of the schedule that like doesn't overlap, that they have more, and there's going to be like one 10-2 team that gets bumped because of the guarantees. But yeah, any SEC team that's 10-2 or better, and there are a couple, given their schedules, that they went 9-3 or better, they probably would be in too.
Ugh.
Like, I'll tell you this: if Florida was good enough to go 9-3 with this schedule, they would have probably been in, because their schedule's the hardest ever created by man.
I mean, I think you could probably make that case for Oklahoma too.
Yeah, Oklahoma. Like, if they go 9-3 with their schedule, like, they might be in. Like, there might be a 10-2 Big 12 team that's like, we did it, and then they're like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
That was very cute. Don't look over. Don't look over here.
Yeah, don't. Who got it? Was it like? Was it Liberty? Was it Ole Miss or Tennessee or someone that we don't know all that well? Like, no, it's Oklahoma.
So
Oklahoma.
You're gonna want to sit down for this.
Oh, yeah.
You know how y'all are all talking, and we don't need y'all, or
Well, here's the other thing that really does suck for the Big 12.
They wouldn't get in if they were 10-2 in the Big 12.
It is so. Texas liked to blame the Big 12 for the Big 12 not having all the respect over the last decade. But part of the problem that the Big 12 didn't have all the respect is people be like, well, Baylor beat a down Texas team. Like, Texas is down, so everybody else is good. And you're like, yeah, well, I mean, everybody's there. So, but because
you
Texas
gotta beat who you play.
But because Texas wasn't good, then the schedule wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter who else was good that you beat, because Texas in particular wasn't good. Then the Big 12 was weak. So then Texas gets good again for the first time in 15 years, really good. They make it to the playoff in their last year, and they're going to make it to the playoff again in their first year in the SEC. And then the SEC is going to reap the benefits of this. But it doesn't disprove the rest of the Big 12 going, well, like, you guys weren't really pulling your weight for a long time and just unilaterally making us do things that you wanted, and then going out and going 5-7. So what? You're the big boss of this, and you're 5-7. So
it's like when they found out that Tony Soprano was in therapy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. When we come back, let's run through the Big 12 and see if your opinions have changed on anybody after the first 3 weeks, because mine certainly have. This is 365 Sports.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in alongside Royden Ogletree, Mr. Tuesday Twinkle Toes.
Don't like that.
No, I don't think I like it either, but it's the first thing that came to my mind.
We'll think of something.
Yeah.
Twinkle toes?
No. It's not my best work.
I'm not even that good at
Nolan
dancing.
Ryan threw 7 no-hitters. He didn't throw 700. Okay?
Right, yeah.
Sometimes
Justin Verlander has a 5 ERA right now, so.
Yeah, again, so sometimes you've got heat, sometimes it's cheese.
No, I'm just saying you've been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's maybe time to,
Pull in a reliever?
Yeah.
Emery, you're in.
Yeah. Time to hang him up.
I was on a friend's podcast the other day, and we were talking. She's a big baseball fan. It was a music podcast, but she was a big baseball fan. I said, one of the things I think that's hilarious about baseball is that the only player who gets publicly shamed for failing by the manager is the pitcher.
Yeah.
Like, if the third baseman, makes an error, he doesn't come out and like take his glove away.
Right.
But if you have a bad inning, the manager will walk out and basically go, "Give me the ball right now. Yeah. You have failed all of these people.
Go think about what you've done."
Yeah.
In the bottom, not even in the dugout.
Here's the thing. Go to the dugout, put a jacket on.
Yeah.
The trainer will give you a Gatorade and sit at the end of the bench by yourself.
Away from everyone.
And think about what you've done. Think about it. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, but the second baseman, he made 2 errors in this inning. I'll deal with him privately.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be shamed in front of 50,000 people.
Yeah.
You, sir, you embarrass me as a baseball man. Get off my field. I'll see you tomorrow.
You should love you.
Exactly.
That was bad, and you should feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah. But what about the center fielder didn't see the ball in the sun? Like, oh, I'm gonna be mad at the sun. The sun,
sir, he gets paid.
It's always there.
Sir, he gets paid $25 million a year. We brought you up from AAA.
Yeah. Okay, Big 12. My opinions have changed on TCU and UCF. Arrow pointed up on them.
Okay. What a game.
Arrow pointed down on West Virginia and Kansas now. And Kansas, man, they need to win in the worst way right now. They've lost 2 close games that they would not have lost a year ago with Jalen Daniels. Like, they would not, with Jason Bean either. They would not have lost a game like that.
And, they were up 20-17 going into that because I was watching it while we're, again, I'm trying to do 1,000 shows and put together shows while also watching football.
Yeah.
But I was watching the fourth quarter, and it's just like they kind of just let UNLV pick them apart, like death by 1,000 cuts, until inevitably I was like, oh, they're going to lose this game. Yeah. And they did, and they got in by the skin of UNLV did by the skin of their teeth to win that, to get the go-ahead touchdown. And the ensuing final possession by Kansas was just all out of sorts and never materialized at all. And it's like Jalen Daniels started out hot and then looked pretty bad, going that second half of that game. I don't know. I don't know if it's essentially just a quarterback problem, but he's not the same player.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and look, they're playing West Virginia this week, who like I said, Arrow pointed down on both of them.
Movable object meets
at Morgantown, and I really don't know how this game is going to go.
Yeah.
Neither of them have hit their full potential yet, and both have looked like a carbon, not like a copy of a copy of a copy of last year's team for each of them. Like you can still read what's there, but it's faint.
Yeah.
And that's
this
what
wasn't Xeroxed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like sideways off the page a little bit.
You never had to see, like, my elementary school had the hand crank, like it was purple ink. So like they would put a piece of paper in like one side, and then they would crank it, and it had like purple ink, and that was the copy.
Did you grow up in the dark ages? What is this?
Yeah, a little tiny Catholic school in 1986 in Bossier City, man. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, they still had that. Now I knew there were Xerox machines elsewhere because my dad had one at his house.
Yeah. They just couldn't get one at the school.
Yeah, they just couldn't get one at the school. The nuns had to just.
It's like it's that, and the somebody used to say, I think it was Gary Goldman used to say, the paper cutter that could decapitate a horse.
Oh yeah. They had that. I remember when I moved to Florida, they had a Scantron machine.
Ooh.
And
the worst, by the way.
Like the kids, like you would get an opportunity like during other times to like go like, all right, hey, will you go take these up and run them through the Scantron machine? You're like, oh, this is a nice little 15-minute break.
Yeah.
And you like it was fun for me, like listening, and you're like, oh man, sorry about your luck, Royden.
Yeah.
Guess you don't know that much about about King Henry V.
Yeah, meanwhile, I got all the answers right, but it was just one off. So you got a 2 instead of a 92.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that Kansas and West Virginia are definitely trending down. I'm wary if they say Cam Rising's going to be okay. I'm wary if he can't go, or say, which he's been known to do, he gets injured again. Mm-hmm. They have their offense is not good without him. He really makes them move. I think they are the most dependent on one player of any team. And yeah, you could say that if a team loses their quarterback, they're not going to succeed. Like if Kansas State lost Avery Johnson, where would they be? I'm not sure their backup situation. But they brought in a kid that was literally 7 years younger than Cam Rising. That's crazy. Like, when Cam Rising was going to his senior prom, this kid was in like 2nd grade.
No, you would have been in
he'd been like 5th
or 6th grade.
Yeah, but like, you could tell even in the Baylor game, that kid was a little like shell-shocked when he kind of got out there. But if they don't have that guy to move their offense along, then it's going to be tough uphill battle like it was all of last year for them. So
now,
I'm
think
wavering on that.
Isaac Wilson, better than the quarterbacks that they had last year, and he proved that out last week, even though it was Utah State.
Yeah.
Like, neither of the quarterbacks last year would have put up those numbers, but Cam Rising needs to be the guy for them.
I mean, they put up 38 points. It's against Utah State. Utah State doesn't have a coach.
But my opinion on Arizona State is trending slower up, but up, because they've got some moxie to them. They're striking on the attitude of Kenny Dillingham, who I really like. But the rest of the league, like, this is going to be a big thing. Baylor and Colorado this weekend is going to kind of solidify what I think about both of them.
Yep.
I think that will solidify where I feel down
no
the
game
line.
is more dependent on no team is more dependent on one win than to where we think for
these
either.
Two.
Yeah,
these
where
two.
They're just like
this is a swing game for them, because if either one of them don't win this, it's going to be really hard for them to make a bowl game.
Right.
Really hard, because Colorado's schedule is at UCF, a game I don't think that they're like. That is a terrible matchup for them. With the running game, then Kansas State, terrible matchup for them with a running game back-to-back. Arizona, look, Tetaroa McMillan versus Travis Hunter, I'm here for that, but I don't really know how that's going to go.
They won this game. They won 28-9, but they were, again, against Colorado State, who was terrible. Overmatched. But like, they won on dependence, like I said last week when I called them a fake football team. They won on the back of their star play, which you can do, but they're so star dependent. They won on the back of Travis Hunter making unbelievable plays.
Yeah, their last 3 games, they have to get to 6 before they're like, Colorado has to get to 6 for their last 3, which are Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. And I know I'm disappointed in Kansas, but by that time, November 23rd, I think that they would be like, well, we're just going to run Highshaw and kneel at you until you're blue in the face. Because I don't see that getting fixed at Colorado anytime soon. And then you're talking about Utah, who runs the ball at you, Kansas, who will run the ball at you, and Oklahoma State, who will run the ball at you, and also has wide receivers that you can't mess around with. So,
are we all collectively forgetting about Iowa State because they just had a bye last week?
No, Iowa State's good. They're good.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Tough. They're just not on Colorado's schedule. But for Baylor, on the same end of that, okay, after this you got BYU, and that's a game that's pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
Maybe they might be a little bit more deep than BYU, but still we got to see what happens in Boulder. Then Iowa State on the road, a place they rarely win. Then Tech on the road, a place they've rarely won. And when I say rarely win, I mean rarely won, like back to the Southwest Conference, like Big 12. If you put these two teams in the Mountain West next year and played the first game in Lubbock, like the history would follow.
They had to move it to Dallas for Baylor to have any success.
Yes, yeah. Like when they, now they did go in there a couple years ago and win.
Yeah.
But historically, which for whatever reason is multi-generational. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but that's how college football is. I wish it has been the bane of my existence of why can't
said team win at a certain place, and they just can't.
Coaches, players, nothing's more cyclical roster-wise
I
than
need
college
a peer-reviewed study of that. Because it's like, well, this program hasn't won. It's like, these people are dead from the last time, and it's just
when you hear
these kids weren't even born when they played. It's like, then why do they care?
Team A hasn't beaten Team B since 1975. You're like, how many times have they played since then? Every year.
Yeah.
It's like, how?
From when they started playing, there has been 3 generations of kids that have come through this school.
In 2020, Team A had 1 player over the COVID line. Team B completely healthy. Team A won.
Yeah.
And you're like, how does this keep happening?
He was really good. I don't know what to tell you.
That one guy that didn't have COVID was the one guy you would want to. So, this game, but Baylor has Oklahoma State, TCU, again, a team that they never beat. West Virginia in Morgantown, a place that they have not
never win.
They don't win.
House of horrors.
Yeah. So there's a lot. There's a lot going on in that game. Today on the show, we've got Matt Brown. We've got Jake. I'm sorry, I buried the lead. We have Wazoo head coach Jake Dickert on the show today.
Look at that.
Yeah, 310 right off
Number
the bat.
7 in the country.
Then we'll have Matt Brown of Extra Points. After that, we're gonna.
Is he going to talk about how the college football game is broken?
It's broken.
All right, it came out broken. They've since fixed some things.
Okay. That happens now, right?
Right. No, they release unfinished video games for way more than they ever used to charge you for.
Yeah.
And you don't even get a CD. You have to buy it on your old PlayStation. Regardless, they release broken games, and they're like, we'll patch it.
Yeah. Play it and send us a complaint.
Yeah.
And we'll figure it out. Mac Rhodes, right, sitting over here in the studio. Craig Smokes off the radar. We do Pod 1 today. The Big 12 originals, so to speak. Well, not the Big 12 originals. The Oklahoma State, Baylor, TCU, and Texas Tech will preview their games. And then John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist by Cell, and my top 5, which I've forgotten which one is today and which one is tomorrow. I think today is about quarterbacks.
Yeah, today should be quarterbacks.
Yeah, backup quarterbacks. Get to know some replacement QBs.
Sawyer Robertson. Come
on
down.
He was not on the list.
Oh.
He was not on the list because I'm not completely sure what the situation is there.
Well, my 2 cents?
Yeah, go ahead. You have 30 seconds.
If they don't start Sawyer Robinson, you're punting on this season.
Okay. Well, they're not going to be punting on the season.
No, I think that Daquan Finn was the right choice to try and bring in and try and mold a dynamic offense around because he is a really, really talented athlete. When you can't complete passes down the field, and granted he got hurt a little bit, but when you can't complete passes down the field in this offense, you are doomed to fail. And Sawyer Robertson hit open people.
Yeah.
And that will open up the game for Bryson Washington, and it opened up for Richard Reese to pop a big run, like we had said on the show before. But I think until proven otherwise, you have to go with that guy.
Okay, that's going to do it for us. Thank you to Royden. See you in an hour, everybody.